you have yours?
I don't. Well, no. What is this?
My thing.
Oh, okay.
I'm Rihanna, and I'm playing them. Suicide is for cowards, a statement I've heard many people say. But if a coward could stand up here, look down on the ground below, and still jump, they deserve a medal. No, I do not think I'm a coward, but if I have endured years of what seemed like endless bullying, it would make me who I am today. 10th of November. Seems like years ago now. It's another day of unbearable pain. Another day of tears. Yes, tears. They were definitely involved. After more than 3 years, you'd think I'd be immune to their name-calling, to their abuse, even to their sneers. But I've had no such luck. Kelly's words hurt just as much as they did the first time. They hurt just as much as being beaten 1,000 times over. I left the school gates that day with a split lip and a purple eye. My life had been like this what seems like a lifetime. Repetitive and endless. November 11th, the day the repetition ended. It started out just like any other day. I left the house dreading the next 6 hours of my life. I cringed internally as I entered the gates of hell. I stopped just inside, took a deep breath, and stalked forward, bracing myself for the impact. But nothing came. That was the moment I knew my life was changing. But something inside me told me it wasn't for the better. I managed to survive until lunch without seeing them. I couldn't take it anymore. Questions ran around inside my head, banging on the inside of my skull with so much pain it was almost painful. I needed to get out of here. So I went home early, ran into my room and slammed the door. I couldn't take it anymore. I couldn't hold it in much longer. I collapsed in a heap on the floor. I cried for hours. All the while, my mind worked on plans, flipping them over and looking on the ins and outs. My mind fixed on one in particular. I like this one, and the consequences that came with it would be worth it. I went over the idea in my head hundreds of times, and the idea became more appealing. And so, on the 12th of November, I walked into school with a swing in my step and an added weight in my pocket. My heart was singing a fast, loud song of excitement in my chest. I was going to get my revenge. So I went into school a bit earlier than usual, just to see if I could get Kelly alone. Confident for the first time in my life, I reached my hand into my pocket and grasped the cold metallic handle. My eyes lit up with excitement. I felt strong and brave as I grasped the handle of the knife I'd stolen out of the kitchen. I felt confident in control of my life. I felt exhilarated. I spotted Kelly in her usual spot. She was surrounded by her followers. She was telling them an insignificant piece of gossip she had heard the day before.
I felt pleased.
I had felt pleased that their absence hadn't continued. They noticed me straight away, but Kelly wasn't to be interrupted. Some of her friends had noticed me and turned to see what I wanted. This angered her. Her mouth twitched as she was about to carry on, and pulling out the knife stopped her. For a moment, their faces were blank. But then, they started laughing at me. This was wrong. They were supposed to be scared, but instead, they were laughing. My hand had shaken before the knife fell from my fingers. I hadn't waited around. I ran and hid in the girls' path and too ashamed to go to lesson. That was when I decided not to live anymore. That last moment hurts the most. It's also the most recent. It had only happened this morning.
It felt like
years since humiliation, but it doesn't change the way I feel. I had to do this. There was no other choice. I would not live my life to be made a fool of, no matter how used to it I become. But I would not jump while I was crying. I will not die looking like a wimp. I wait for my tears to run out. There. That wasn't so hard, was it? It had always been so difficult. Normally when they stopped, it usually took ages for them to stop. But nothing had been normal today, and that's how it would end. I smile as the thought of someone finding my mangled body on the ground below. I imagine the guilt an ordinary person would feel, thought they were to blame. I grinned hugely as the thought of everyone as a shock everyone I had ever known would feel.
People might guess.
People might guess he was to blame. It's a shame I won't be there to find out. With I fixed my grin in the place and closed my eyes once again. For this time they will never open again. With my grin held firmly in place, I raised my hands above my head, flexed my fingertips in the wind, and I jumped. Samantha Strider, born 1995, died 2010. Cause of death? Suicide.